Welcome to Sunset News on this Monday evening. As always, we bring you the news, community stories, economics, weather, and the sport. You are joined by Ashwin Berry.
And I'm Tanya Bowser.
Good to have you here, Tanya.
Thank you very much.
Let's get straight into what we can expect from the news tonight. In our first story, corruption undermines trust in institutions, hampers economic development, erodes social justice, and poses a significant threat to democracy and the rule of law, President Hage Geingob said in his message commemorating International Anti-Corruption Day on Saturday. Now, the president said the commemoration of the 20th anniversary of International Anti-Corruption Day marks a significant milestone in the ongoing battle against corruption. Uniting the world against corruption is not merely a theme, it is a call to strengthen global collaboration and shared responsibility to foster transparency, integrity, and accountability. He said that as a young nation, Namibia stands united with the international community to reaffirm commitment to combat corruption in all its forms. Corruption is everywhere. It is what you do about it that matters, Geingob said that corruption affects the poor the most, and in line with Namibia's processes, systems, and institutions, all efforts must be made to ensure a corruption-free Namibia. These were the words of the president. Tanya, are there any thoughts?
I think corruption, yeah, he's right. It's everywhere. I mean, even if you listen nowadays, more and more police officers just,
find themselves caught up in it. And I mean, look, if we're going to talk current affairs, Fisher trial has just started. As far as Namibia's history goes, arguably the largest corruption trial we have ever seen. Minister of Justice in the slammer, Minister of Fisheries in the slammer, big business people. And speaking of the domino effect, he says it affects the poor the most. You recall when Fisher came out, and then we started hearing those stories of the fishermen in Walvis Bay, some of them who had unalived themselves as a result, of this corruption, essentially.
But that is big, and that is a lot of money that is involved there. But then if you look at it, I mean, and I think it's again the poor, because I mean, look at our policemen, they're not very well paid.
Yes.
So even $100 here or $500 there, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Really everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear the president staying on the right side of history with regards to his narrative on corruption. Now in our next story, 3 people were assaulted and robbed of about 53,500 Namibian dollars by six suspects on Friday in Walvis Bay's Narraville. The police's head of public relations, Deputy Commissioner Kauna Shikwambi, confirmed the incident, which happened around 4 p.m. opposite the Narraville service station in Sam Nujoma Avenue. According to Shikwambi, 3 workers selling meat from a high-note truck belonging to Klein Windhoek Slagterij were attacked by 6 suspects who pretended to be customers with a red GTI Polo. The suspects allegedly attacked and held the employees at gunpoint and managed to get away with cash from the truck. The robbers fired at the police van, which arrived at the scene, and sped off with 50,000 in cash, as well as a Samsung Galaxy A12. Now, in a separate incident, 3 suspects in the early morning hours of today fatally shot an armed officer who responded to a robbery at Town Lodge near Grovemore in Windhoek. And according to the police, the 3 suspects approached the 40-year-old receptionist, pointing 2 firearms at him and demanded that he open the safe, and assaulted him after he informed them that he did not have the code for the safe, and also hit him with a gun over the head. The receptionist managed to press the panic button, and the suspects thereafter took his cell phone as well as 13,000 Namibian dollars in cash, and then exited the building when they heard the armed response vehicle approaching. When the suspects reached outside, they started exchanging fire with the armed response officer, who arrived alone at the scene, and in the process he was shot. The security guard drove himself to the Lady Pohamba Hospital, where he died due to his injuries. That is a very sad pair of developments, Tanya, especially heading into Christmas this season. It seems there's usually a bit of an uptick in criminal activities.
Definitely, because if you even look at the crime report generally, house breakings and all that is already on the increase, and we're not even in the festive season as such.
Do you think, I mean, of course, it's very sad, and there's no replacing life, and it's scary. I mean, Grovemore is a huge place for people to have that kind of courage in such a public place, where I would like to assume there's obviously so many cameras, people are emboldened. All this is sad. Do we have an opportunity to stem this? Because we know, as you said, usually it actually just gets worse around the 25th, but generally it starts at that time. Right now, it seems like the activities are picking up sooner. Do you think there's a chance that the police may be able to shut it down before it gets crazy? Because also, just an update, Namibia has got a 98% increase in tourist visitors as of after COVID-19. So we've got more tourists right now than we've had in the last 3 or 4 years.
I think our police is maybe not up to it because they are undermanned, they're too little. But I think companies, big companies, especially, you know, the Hino truck with the $50,000 cash, that is just waiting for something to happen. Big companies with a lot of cash should maybe look into having private security company accompany the truck with the money. You know you're going to make money at
yes, of course. And ultimately it just protects your employees.
Yourself,
yes, of course.
And your business.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately we do want crime to be tackled, but while we're waiting, we should be vigilant.
And we should maybe step up and do it ourselves and not wait for the police to do something.
All right. Now, as we move over, as the rainy season continues in Namibia, a lot of farmers are still not keeping track of the amount of rainfall they receive. Now, this lack of record keeping leads to poor planning for the dry season. And when there is too little rainfall, many farmers experience crop failure and livestock mortality due to inadequate preparation, said Agribank's technical advisor for crops and poultry, Hanks Saisai. According to him, Namibia's central, north central, eastern, southern, and northeastern regions have received some rain showers, marking the beginning of the 2023-24 rainy season. Now, Saisai said that farmers often get excited and carried away by the occurrence of rainfall, as it is an essential resource that enables farmers to cultivate cereal grains. Additionally, he said that rainfall replenishes vegetation that are utilized by livestock and underground water, making it available in boreholes as well as wells. Now, Saisai said that keeping a record of the amount of rainfall one receives is essential for farming. I mean, it's hard not to agree with that. It's hard not to agree with that. But you also understand the excitement. I mean,
definitely.
Namibia it generally spends most of its year in semi-arid climate.
Yes.
And to see any kind of rain, it's difficult to now, try to measure, It's kind of like asking a child to, check the prices of their toys at Christmas. They couldn't care less. The toys are here. Yeah. It's really just about moving forward, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think also... especially the first time, like you said, farmers are now celebrating, those that were lucky enough so far, obviously, but I don't know. I try to keep record of rainfall at my house, and I can't even get that right.
You can't even get that.
And it's one rain meter.
It's one,
So a farm, I think,
it's even more difficult.
It's more challenging.
Challenging. But certainly something that would benefit them in the long run, because when you have records, they can, in spite of climate change, you can, kind of pay attention to trends and see how you can prepare as you move forward. Now, as Namibia celebrates International Human Rights Day, the Ombudsman of Namibia shares that Namibians enjoy the benefits of many human rights, such as the right to political association and freedom of speech. He says that Namibia, however, is lacking in domains pertaining to individual rights, such as housing and sanitation.
I'm Advocate Basilis Diakwa, the Ombudsman of Namibia. This year we are also again celebrating the Human Rights Day, like every year. It is the UN who has decided through the General Assembly resolution that Human Rights Day will be celebrated on every 10th of December. And this year's theme is actually freedom, justice, and dignity. But in the right order is dignity, freedom, and justice. So those are the theme of this year, 2023, Human Rights Day celebration. But the reason why we celebrate Human Rights Day every year is really to take stock of what has been achieved in a human rights era, and what are those challenges in terms of the human rights that were not achieved, and what can be done to get the political will to then achieve those human rights that has not been achieved in the past years. So in short, that is actually the human rights situation. Well, Namibia is like many other countries. we are still really maybe halfway to go, if not a long way to go, to really claim to be that we are very satisfied with the human rights situation in the country. But we are not so bad. We are not too bad also when it comes to other human rights situations, like those that are entrenched or entrenched in the constitution of the Namibian constitution, like the civil and political rights. We are fairly okay with those ones. These are mainly individual rights. But then we have challenges in other group rights, rights like the rights to economic, social, and cultural rights. Those rights in those conventions mainly speak about the right to health, the right to housing, the right to adequate water and sanitation. Those are actually challenges that are being faced by many people, including Namibian people in today's situation.
So, World Human Rights Day, of course, Namibia is commemorating some messages from the president, a message from Ombudsman. What's your feeling on the observation of human rights? Is observation the right word? The honoring of human rights in Namibia? What's your take on that, just as a general perspective?
I think generally we are struggling. Like gay rights, marriage, gay marriage. But not only that, also human rights for marginalized communities. The San and the Himba, we all know they nearly have no rights. I think, we still got a long way to go.
Still got a long way to go. And maybe that's, when the president says we're a young country and he wants us to be much like to join the international body, part of that, I guess, also just means we must also understand that we do have a long way to go, but that means we have to work harder than everyone else, I assume, to make sure that we create an equal playing field.
And work harder at it, not just pretend it goes away.
Yes.
And talk about it if it's now topical and then forget it for the next year until something pops up.
Yes.
And,
Got to stay aware, got to stay informed. Now, in economic news after the break, Namibia hosted a session at the 28th UN Climate Change Conference in Dubai. And this was to help understand what Africa needs to be ready for with regards to carbon markets. Stay with Sunset News for this story and more.
The Agenda is a weekly national affairs interview program hosted every Sunday by Namibian Sun editor Toyvon Javela, featuring a panel of high-profile newsmakers, analysts, and experts. The Agenda aims to reach high-end news consumers seeking informed understanding of national issues. This show is broadcasted on NTV, OneUp2.com, and the Namibia Media Holdings Facebook platform. The Agenda focuses on interviews where we put the nation in the hot seat. Contact Agenda at synergy.com.na to get your product and service in the hot seat. The Agenda, focused on today's conversation.
Now, as I just highlighted, Namibia hosted a session at the 28th UN Climate Change Conference in Dubai to help understand what Africa needs to be ready for with regards to carbon markets. Now, the panel included speakers from Climate Balance Perspective Climate Group, the International Emissions Trading Association, as well as the International Carbon Registry, who explored the current and future needs for carbon markets in both private and public sectors. According to a statement by the Environmental Investment Investment Fund of Namibia, they emphasized that Africa's readiness for carbon markets is crucial for effective climate action, considering its unique challenges. It said that the focus on understanding specific needs like building skills, creating policies, identifying projects, and sharing technology is essential. The EIF said this approach positions Africa to contribute significantly to global emission reduction goals while benefiting economically and environmentally from sustainable development initiatives. I think that's a good tone to take into Bayer. What are your thoughts on that, Sonia?
We can, I think we can make a great impact or have a great impact on our carbon emissions. I mean, if you look at all the alternative energy we can create.
Yes, I mean, green hydrogen is the buzzword of the year. You know what I mean? Green hydrogen is, and it seems like as far as Africa goes, we're pretty much leading the fray with regards to that.
Yes.
To green hydrogen. Yeah,
yes,
I
definitely.
I think it is. It is essential. And I mean, of course, at COP28, that's what everybody wants to hear. But we did have a story earlier about OPEC. Very much present there, Saudi Arabia, and it's going to be interesting because Namibia is discovering oil and gas at the same time as exploring green hydrogen energy. Yes, so striking that balance is going to be interesting.
Yes, to find that one. But you know, with oil and gas, I think is still a bit further than green hydrogen. Yes.
Do you think that, you know, these conferences, COP28, there's going to be several before oil and gas keeps rolling. Do you think there's a chance that they may limit how much we can get out of oil and gas as a country economically? I mean, that's the plan, right? Essentially, we're trying to reduce use of, fossil fuels and all that.
Yes.
Do you think there's, I mean, I know there have been propositions already to start, trying to cut down these projects. But of course, Africa is saying that we emit the least. It makes no sense for us to be at the forefront of that. Do you think that some kind of resolution may come to light which could hinder Namibia being able to fully benefit from oil and gas exploration?
I don't think so, no.
You don't think so, huh?
No,
especially, I mean, there's the balance of the green hydrogen there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're mad at what's happening in Walvis Bay, go to Lüderitz and you'll be okay. Right, in international news after the break, Russians who have been banned from traveling abroad will have to hand over their passports to authorities. But before we do that, let's head to the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 18.99 next to the US dollar. 23.78 Namibian dollars gets you 1 British pound, with 2.64 getting you a Chinese yuan. Copper, gold, and Brent crude oil had some downturns. However, platinum managed to be in the green with 0.33% of an uptick. We swing over to Russia as we talk international news after the break.
We've always had the bravery to stand up for what is Namibian, from protecting our homes to fighting injustices. We still celebrate what it means to us and raise a glass to those who show their bravery. No matter how they take on the world, with all this potential in the land of the brave, what will you do to make this Namibia your Namibia?
Now, Russians who have been banned from traveling abroad will have to hand over their passports to authorities within 5 days after being notified. And this is according to a government decree that comes into force today. According to Russian law, authorities can impose a travel ban on conscripts, employees of the Federal Security Service, convicts, or people who have access to state secrets or information of special importance, among others. The returned passport will be stored by the authorities that issued it, such as the Interior Ministry or the Foreign Ministry authorities. After the travel ban is lifted, the passport could be returned upon completing an application. According to the government decree, those whose right to travel was temporarily limited on the basis of conscription for military or alternative civilian service will have to additionally provide military ID with proof that they have completed service, the resolution also says. Very interesting development from Russia. Now in Canada, the government has announced an increase in the cost of living financial requirement for international students who are applying for a study permit. This is starting from January 1st next year. Individual students must now demonstrate the availability of 20,635 Canadian dollars, more than double the previous requirement. Now, the move aims to address a concerning trend where students meeting the previous threshold struggle upon arrival, exposing themselves to potential exploitation and financial vulnerability. The adjustment is the first in a decade and reflects a broader scrutiny of Canada's international student program by the federal government. Economically, the new amount represents 75% of the low-income cutoff in Canada, ensuring individuals have a significant income for basic necessities. Mark Miller, Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, emphasized that these changes are crucial for the success of international students in Canada. However, acknowledging that not all students can meet the increased savings requirement, the government does plan to pilot initiatives in order to support underrepresented cohorts of international students. Critics, including Sarum Ro of Migrant Students United, argued that the sudden financial adjustment creates barriers for working-class students, prompting urgent calls for stability, fairness, and permanent residency for all. The heightened financial requirement comes amid concerns about the rising cost of living in Canada for international students. Any thoughts on this, Tanya? This is not fun. I mean, I don't think we're planning on going to Canada soon, are you?
Not
There's a
actually,
chance.
no. I think there's always a chance. I think generally worldwide, if you look, students go study in other countries, which later becomes a problem. It's the same in Namibia. Student fees start falling behind, and hostel fees, and people or students struggle because, you know, of the money difference
That's happening
in
there.
other countries, and who's then responsible
for those students. And
You
at the
know.
same time, Canada does have this continued drive where they are asking for more immigrant workers, and perhaps that they need to figure out a way to meet them halfway. All right, those have been our international news stories. We're going to swing over to the weather.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insights to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
You're still with Sunset News. Let's head straight to the weather predictions. Windhoek is sunny along with Omaruru and Hobabis. It's partly cloudy in most of the country. Much hotter in Rundu though, 37 degrees Celsius maximum expected. Looking at the coast and other places, it is definitely sunny. Luderitz maintains its windiness and its cool temperatures, 16 degrees Celsius minimum expected. Mariento, 18 degrees Celsius minimum expected there. That's been our weather. It's time for me to sit down and bring you the sport. All right, let's get into some quick updates from the sporting world. Ongos ladies beat Ongodiva Queens 5-1 in the FNB Women's Super League. Ongos head coach Shama Gure had this to say.
My name is Shama Gure, head coach of Ongos Ladies FC. I think today was a very good encounter, and I must say I give a good applaud to Ongodiva Queens. They really brought a very good display of football, very clinical in the opening 15-20 minutes, but I think somewhere along the line we regained dominance, and I think that's what gave us the competitive advantage going into the final third of the first half. And I think through a little bit of team talk and also capitalizing on some of the loopholes and chances the opposition gave us, we started counting the much needed goals. Unfortunately, they drew one back from a mistake from a very experienced player, Emma Naris. But going into the rest of the game, I think we dominated quite well and managed to get the much needed goals. Thank you.
My name is Ronnie Okoba. I'm the coach of the Durban Boys team. It's our first game in the league, so you could see we're struggling with the play. We could not manage to put the ball together. So I will always say to my players, we fight and we must score. The only way of winning games is by scoring goals. So we managed to score 2 goals, and we're taking to the next one tomorrow.
All right, it's time for us to move on. Namibian boxer Harry Simon Jr. emerged victorious against Angolan boxer Enriquez Lando, and this was by a unanimous decision in a 10-round welterweight bout. The judges scored the fight 97-92, 187, and 187. And for all the English Premier League lovers, a quick update. Chelsea lost to Everton 2-0. Manchester City beat Luton Town 2-1. Arsenal lost to Aston Villa 1-0. And Manchester United fell to Bournemouth 3-0. Those have been our sports stories. All right, that's been our broadcast. Thank you for being here, Tanya.
Thank you very much.
It's always good having a senior journalist here to keep me in check. Those have been our news stories on Sunday News. See you tomorrow.